Hey guys, just want to do a quick little video on our reclaim boxes. Now we've finally got 5 minutes to, and a couple in stock to show off. If you follow us on socials, you would have seen a video, a bit of a teaser video really, showing it in action on a driveway clean. And yeah, that's basically what they've been designed to do. So you can recapture your wastewater at the curb and try to stop some of them going down the drain and hopefully avoid a pretty hefty fine from the EPA or the council where you're working, because even if you're not using chemicals, it can be clean water. Technically it's not meant to go down stormwater drain, and the options out there are pretty cumbersome. At the end of the day, what we've done, the basic idea behind it is not that amazing. You know, it's a bilge pump. And a bilge pump is a way a lot of people have been reclaiming water for years, but from what we've seen and observed personally, even us trying to use one, just plonking a bilge pump in the gutter and hooking it up to a battery or running cables back to your ute or your van or whatever, it's cumbersome, it's slow, it's messy, it's unreliable, and it's basically it's a pain in the bum. So we've tried to make a real compact, easy system. You just whack a tool battery in there, pick this up, whack it down, flick a switch, and away you go. Obviously with the dam built with a few sandbags. So that was the design brief. We went through a few different stages of it, and this is what we've come up with, and it seems to be working really well. Obviously it's not going to work as good as a $20,000 reclaim vacuum, but it's also not a $20,000 reclaim vacuum. It is going to definitely be a good step in the right direction, and like I said, I figured most people, or at least a lot of people, are just doing nothing because it's too hard. Now it's not too hard, and it is something, and it's going to get, you know, a lot of that wastewater. What else can we say? So yeah, it runs off the 18-volt battery. The switch, flick this around. The switch is either on or auto. You're going to want it on auto a lot of the time, but depending on the sort of hill that you're on, how deep a puddle you can get, you might find that the auto doesn't kick on and off as nice as you'd like to do. It needs about a 4 centimetre puddle from memory, so it does need to be fairly deep before that clicks on. If you're working on a relatively flat curb, that's going to be a pain. So that's why we've got the override there. So you can flick it on, the pump will kick in, and you can just be pressure cleaning your driveway and having that wastewater run down into it. And if if it drops below 4 centimetres for a bit and then builds up and below and builds up, it's not going to matter. The pump's going to be getting some water. As you can see, I'm not worried about it. There's no water down now. It does not matter if it runs dry for a short period of time, or even sustained short periods. It's just, I wouldn't go flick it on and then go have a cuppa or something. Just, while you're working, leave it on. It's not going to be an issue. Runtime, you should get about an hour out of a 5 or 6 amp hour battery. You're obviously going to change depending on how much that pump is working or how old your battery is and things like that. So how it's set up, obviously got your battery switch on top. Underneath you've got a pump there. These mesh front and rear to try to stop a lot of the debris from getting in. Even though it's got the mesh, you're going to want to build, what you're going to want is about 2 sandbags behind it, reasonably close to build your dam. That's where you're going to get your pooling of your water. But about a metre, maybe 2 metres upstream from that, it's a good idea to have another stage in the system. Just another, doesn't even have to be another sandbag, it can just be a little bit of a silt sock or a small section of temporary gutter filled with water, just to interrupt the flow of the wastewater. Because what that'll do is allow the sediment to settle there. And then you're going to get a heck of a lot less debris and settlement coming down and clogging up the front of this mesh. At the end of the day, probably being a little bit OCD with that. You don't have to do that, but I think it's a good idea for the effort that involves, which is literally just plonk something a metre in front of it. Heck, chuck an old boot there or something. It doesn't matter. Just something to interrupt that flow, and then a lot of that settlement's going to settle there, and it's not going to cause issues. But even if stuff does come past, which stuff will, we've got the second layer here, which is the mesh. Then the pump itself, flick this around the right way so it's easier to see. The pump itself has got a little mesh cover there, which just clips on and off easily if you do get some leaves or something gummed up in there. And absolutely worst case scenario, which shouldn't happen given all the mesh in front of it, you can just unscrew this and that whole pump motor housing comes out, and you can see that impeller there. So I've had, in early days of testing this without any mesh and things like that, I had leaves and stuff clog up around there, and it was just a case of pulling it out. So if that happens, that's just very easy to get to, very easy to clean. But under normal circumstances, that's not likely to happen. So yeah, there it is. One other thing I nearly forgot, depending on which way your hill's running in relation to the box, you might want to twist this that way or that way. So that's just something you can do. There is a sort of swivel there that you can undo and then face that at the deeper end of the puddle, depending on the location of the box in relation to the hill. And we do supply it with about 2 meters of this 1-inch hose there. Comes with a cam lock so that you can put it on and off this really easy. So again, we've just tried to make it as easy as possible. So the whole thing sits in your toolbox like that, really doesn't take up much room. Takes, you know, what, 30 seconds to put a battery in, clip the hose on, chuck it in the curb. Maybe a minute by the time you put your sandbags out too. So yeah, hopefully it solves the problem for a few people. And yeah, have a good one.